everybody has something to share, whether they're the product stall holders and something they've created, that's something to share, whether they're the speakers and they're sharing their knowledge. You're bringing all this sharing together. The whole thing you have done is about community.
And I really feel it's to inspire and engage and bring people together. I'm sure lots of other people do it out there, but that is really what we stand for. Hi, I'm Caroline Cary and welcome to the Nourish Love podcast. For over 20 years, I've created events, raised over 4 million for good causes, and been lucky enough to meet some incredible people along the way. This podcast is about exploring stories and insights that really shape us, with inspiring guests from wellness, business, self-care and personal growth. It's about learning to trust our intuition and discovering what truly matters, and how, with hard work, belief and tenacity, we can make so many things happen.
Hi Caroline, so fun to be here.
Do you know, this is extraordinary. So we decided, didn't we, to come here today and see the studio and Jim and see where all the podcast is being recorded. And what a beautiful space it is.
Isn't it brilliant? It's so good. Creative content studio. It is fab, actually. I'm very glad to be here with you.
Well, it's just so strange because I always had in my sort of psyche with ENL that we would do a podcast, and then it's all evolved. And I found this amazing couple who are doing this, Creative Studios, and I just wanted to come down and see it, and thought it was a good excuse just to have a chat with you.
And ENL's evolved so quickly, hasn't it, over the last few years? And you probably haven't got time to stand still.
Oh,
Did you really think about podcasts a lot, you know, at the beginning, or did it all just come to fruition through the way that the fair has come and the whole of the ENL brand has come through so quickly?
Well, I think I'd always wanted to do something on my own, hadn't I? So this was always here, but it was a question of how and what. And I'd done so much with fundraising and raising money for different charities and different events, and I've done it for 30 years, and I'd done the fair for 20 years under a different umbrella. It used to be called the Early Christmas Fair, and then ENL took on its own sort of so I think it took on its own sort of identity, and then when it all changed and we took the fair on and it became the Nourish Autumn Fair, I then thought, what could I do to transition this so that it's slightly different? So I thought it'd be quite good just to do a talk. And that talk ended up being 7 amazing talks last year. I was blown away by it, really. And then there were other people. You're
talking about the talks at the fair?
Yes.
Adding the talks onto just, it's not just a stall holder place anymore. It's now got speakers and so you've added a huge dimension to it, and from that came the podcast.
Yeah, I think, I'd been doing the fair for a long time and it's still evolving, and I think it's how could you make it something slightly different for everybody?
Yeah.
And I think people are so interested in, I think that a lot of people are very curious about wellness and health, and if you go onto all my website and the story behind it, wellness was in me. The whole thing, it's been going, I started this journey 28 years ago in the wellness field. So I'd always wanted to bring a bit of that into the work I do. Yeah. And I was able to do it. Anyway, had the speakers to come and do the talks. And then there were people who couldn't do them, but they wanted to do something with me. So I went, I've had this idea of a podcast, and why don't I have a go and try and do it? And then someone who was helping me with the fair introduced me to Jim, and oh my goodness me, it was like, can do. There is someone who can help me do it and show me how to do it. And it just transformed the whole thing.
So actually the whole Eat, Nourish, Love, or ENL, has evolved through your the background that you've had. When we go on these journeys and these paths we call life, it isn't something you actually planned from day one. Everything just came to fruition. Everything just came through. And this is your latest thing. And you're still looking after all your amazing stall holders at the fair. You've got new speakers this year, and the speakers last year were amazing. I mean, it really did add a sort of je ne sais quoi to what was an early Christmas fair, which is now an autumn fair. And by the way, the stall holders are always incredible. I used to be one of them, but again, my life's moved on too, and it's such an amazing sharing place, and you curate the choice of stall holders, so brilliantly, so that people come with empty bags and they can leave with their entire Christmas shopping in September sorted, which is, it's not just part of this whole Christmas treadmill that people get on in about November trying to, oh my God, it's actually done and dusted and something completely different in September. So I just think that's what sets you apart at ENL, definitely.
I think it's been on the map for, well over 30 years. I mean, this event's evolved. There's been so many people involved in it, and don't underestimate the work from lots of other people as a consequence of where it is today. And we wouldn't be here without the stallholders. I mean, they are phenomenal. Yeah. And I am such a massive supporter of the small businesses. I see them, how they work and how hard they work. It starts. But what's so exciting about the one in September and our dates, it's the first really big fair on the circuit. And they've come off their summer holidays, everyone's gone back to school, and they come with these stalls brimming over with all their new products and stuff. And it's so lovely. So it's a great place for people to start their shopping and come and see what it's all about. And also, there's a huge atmosphere when they all come together. You see them all come together and there's this energy. They haven't seen each other since the last season and they're sharing. I mean, more and more fairs are definitely popping up, in the spring and summer. But this has always been very steadfast. People travel miles because there's also the military community that's there where it all started to see their sons or daughter-in-laws or family, and they come overnight, and it's a real community event.
It is, and also I think the point is you can stay overnight. It's 2 days. You've added extra hours actually, haven't you, onto the shopping times for people, because people were saying it's just not long enough. And I mean, and they come back year after year. I know people who come down from Leicestershire and Northamptonshire. They stay and they make a 2-day, event in their lives out of it. And now you've got the talks. There's even more of a reason.
So we have over 120 brands who come to the fair, and as I say, they work so hard, and the array of stallholders, and I'm very lucky. We've got big waiting lists for people, and it's really sad that I can't have more people coming to the fair. But it's when people start the Christmas shopping, and when the word, because it used to be called the early Christmas fair, and Christmas is a very hard word to market during the summer because people didn't like to hear it. But it is. People do all their Christmas shopping there.
Mm-hmm. No, it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. The other thing that I always think that people come for is because you can stay a whole day, you offer food and drink. And so therefore they can all get together for coffee, lunch, drinks in the evening. There's even I think the evening goes on into you can have supper, and that's totally, that is unique in the fair circuit, really.
So it's interesting. We've opened it 2 hours earlier. Actually, it opens at noon on Tuesday to allow a more time for people to shop. It's hard if you stretch a fair for 3 days, 4 days, you've got to make quite sure that fits. And actually sometimes when you keep it shorter and tighter, people definitely put it in their diaries. But it goes from noon till 9 o'clock at night. And as you rightly say, you can come and shop, you can stay and have a glass of non-alcoholic. We have Naughty who are sponsoring us this year, and also a glass of champagne or sparkling wine, and then you can stay and have supper. That's all booked online, but it's a huge community event. It's a lovely place to get together, and I think there's this big thing about thing that people are talking about loneliness and how friendship is so important. And a lot of these community events have gone because they're very expensive to put on. So it's hard, to keep these events going, but we really need them. And that face-to-face friendship, sharing, coming to have lunch together, supper together, shop together. And it's not always about just the shopping, it's about the experience.
Well, I think you sort of hit the nail on the head for me there, the word sharing, because everybody has something to share. and whether they're the product stall holders and something they've created, that's something to share, whether they're the speakers and they're sharing their knowledge. And of course, you're bringing all this sharing together. And I just feel that the whole thing you have done is about community and about thinking of everybody and about everybody there having the opportunity to share. You've given them the opportunity to share.
Thank you. Well, I think it's lovely. But the store, as I say, the traders, the store holders are phenomenal. They cover a huge range, and they are very loyal. I have got a very loyal following, and I think that's extraordinary. But we also try to curate new things to give the shoppers new things. We've got incredible new stands this year, and also we've got a stellar lineup of speakers again.
What about the charity element now? You've always been such a charity girl. You are a woman of charity.
Well, I've done huge fundraising projects, as people probably know, and I still do. And it's hard. I mean, that climate is hard, but there will always be a fundraising. There'll always be for a good cause. So this year we're doing it for Walking with the Wounded and Nourish's Garden, two charities. Obviously, Walking with the Wounded, very, very good military charity. Really love their work, but also Horatia's Garden has always been intrinsically a charity that I've always wanted to support because I know the family, and Guy was a friend of Horatia's.
Right. And also, again, look, it comes back to this community, this sharing, this, what people do for those charities to raise money. They do extraordinary things, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Hiking across mountains and, whatever they're doing, but they're doing extraordinary things. And it's again that sharing that I find absolutely the human spirit, and it's just phenomenal.
I think so. And also it's really lovely sometimes because you group all the traders, the brands, the store holders as a group together, but every individual storeholder has their own story.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're talking to them about the charity or something, you hear some extraordinary things that they've done.
Yeah.
So they're all individuals. So, yes, they're selling their products and their brands, but goodness, the stories I always think the stories in just one event like that in the room is amazing.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I believe we're doing something, aren't we, together?
We are. Well, I think you sort of got me to do it, didn't you?
Well, I again, it's a sharing of a knowledge, really. I founded a company called Wellbeing, and it's about sharing. It's about sharing knowledge. It's based on positive psychology. It's based on writing. And I'm really encouraging everybody to write. And I know you've been a prolific journaler. It's more than journaling. It's actually just writing, and how it is so important for us to keep doing that in life. It's easy for us to turn to the tablet or the computer or whatever it is, and our lovely mobile phones. But losing the skill of writing is it's fairly key to write, because there is actually a part of our brain that we will be losing if we don't write. And journaling, I think the best conversation you can have is almost with yourself, and the feelings that you get, and the writing of the feelings that rise.
Well, it is funny, but I started, I read a book and about 3 or 4 years ago, and I have probably written every day since that. Occasionally I have a break, because I always think, when you have these morning routines or these routines that you have, if you do stop it or you change whatever, it's not to beat yourself up, because otherwise those morning routines are superfluous. There's no point in it.
It's do what you feel.
Exactly. Yeah. So and they often say when you write, as things come out, and sometimes I write absolute rubbish. I'm not writing to write a book. I'm writing to get my head straight. And I feel when I've done that, I've cleared a lot of stuff. It's almost like rejigged my brain.
Well, it is. It's creating space, because you're actually getting out your ruminating thoughts. You're getting them out of your head and creating space for what really matters in that day.
And it's out there. And I know we've talked about the word journaling, writing, journaling. There's these words are sometimes overused. But for example, I even saw Chris Martin. He does it, because you'd think, well, he wouldn't have anything that he's got to write about, or maybe he's fine. But he's got his own stuff going on, and it's fascinating that actually people are sharing this. And I think the lovely thing about podcasts and the mediums and what we're doing now is actually people are saying that they're not on their own. Actually, these are ways that they can help themselves as well.
And creating choice. As your stallholders create choice at the fair, equally, creating a choice in your mind of things that are, prioritizing what you're doing that day. Even that, writing it on a piece of paper. It's because this is a world of choice. Oh my goodness me, it's all thrown at us at 100 miles an hour. And sifting through all that noise is quite difficult. Yeah. But if you actually sit quietly, because my big thing is all about the preparation of writing. It's almost like a ritual. Before you write, what you do, you sort of stop and you breathe and you think and you let everything tumble out. But as long as you're getting the words out of your head and onto the paper, there's no rules.
No. Well, everyone's going to hear a bit more about this, aren't they, at the fair, along with a lot of the other.
Too much away.
Along with the other speakers. So we've got Lucinda Miller, who's talking about brain brilliance, who is amazing, and she came last year. We've got Emma Willis, the shirt maker, who set up Star for Soldiers, who is being interviewed by Matthew Stanlin, who's a BBC presenter, and that's a fascinating story, actually. And it was due to someone who came to the event last year and said, she would be amazing, and I need to find out more about the charity. Millie McIntosh is coming. She's just written a book, Bad Drunk, all about being sober curious. And I think it's very big. It's a very big topic, isn't it?
Yeah, very much. Yeah. On point. You've got a military talk as well, haven't you?
We have. We've got one, actually. It's Simon Mail, who was an advisor in the Middle East. Mm. And it's a really, really interesting talk in the evening because... the fair was originally, set up in that military community. It's not that now anymore, but there is that still that military community that's massive.
No, but it's a very interesting subject, geopolitics, and it keeps everybody's
it's fascinating.
Aware.
It's fascinating. So last year we had General Snick Carter speaking. So this year we've got Sir Simon Mail speaking. So yeah, it's good. And then we've also got Alison Cork, who's just written a book all about strength in the 50s, and she was a reporter, journalist, and extraordinary. Actually, I went to hear her speak the other day. And then Eve Cameron, who was the beauty editor of Good Housekeeping, she's now a yoga teacher. She does mindfulness and breathing and breath work. So she'll do a little session there. And I'm very lucky because one of the reasons the Eat, Nourish, Love is called Eat, Nourish, Love is my background was I cooked. I went to Prulise for a year, did the diploma there, and then went back to work for a bit. And Caroline Walgrave got me my first job. Caroline Walgrave was the founder with Prulise. And she's coming back to do a lovely demo with Georgia, who was also at Prulise and taught there.
Oh my God, that
amazing.
Is fantastic.
So it's a small little live demo.
Nod also to your
health.
Past and the history and the ENL. I love that.
Well, if someone said to me, what is ENL? And I probably would have a couple of years ago found that hard to answer because I think it's like, what is your brand? Mm. And I really feel it's to inspire and engage and bring people together. And it's what I've always done. It's what I love doing. I'm sure lots of other people do it out there, but that is really what we stand for. And the podcast, which has taken off, I mean, I'm amazed how successful it's been. And the speakers I've got and people who want to be on it and who've agreed to be on it. And that's about belief, hard work and tenacity can make so many things happen.
It's amazing how often things come in threes. Belief, hard work and tenacity, eat, nourish, love. And I always love to think eating, nourishing and loving. I mean, what three better ways than living like that?
I know.
And you've done it.
It's exciting. And I think this is why we're going to be talking about the writing at the fair, because it's something that we went through lockdown and we shared an amazing experience. And I think you asked me, you wanted me to share it with you. So we're going to do that at the fair.
Yeah, no, great. No, I really look forward to it. Really, so much fun.
Well, it's lovely to be here at the studio and to do this together. I don't think I've ever sat in front of a mic this close because I normally do it from home, but it's great, isn't it?
It's really fun. Yeah. And what a space.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Caroline Cary and welcome to the Eat, Nourish, Love podcast. For over 20 years, I've created events, raised over 4 million for good causes, and been lucky enough to meet some incredible people along the way. This podcast is about exploring stories and insights that really shape us, with inspiring guests from wellness, business, self-care and personal growth. It's about learning to trust our intuition and discovering what truly matters, and how, with hard work, belief and tenacity, we can make so many things happen.